Yesterday's Battletech vlog had us exploring the Fire Moth, a very, very fast, a very, very interesting and unique clan mech. And that got me thinking, with the clan invasion, incoming Kickstarter, lots of Battletech stuff, miniatures on the way, game of armored combat, starter set, maps. This is the golden age of Battletech, and I've seen it even in the circles that I travel. New players coming to the game. You know, they were interested in Battletech through the digital, and now with the new sets, they're getting into the tabletop. And Battletech is a different war game than most. And this got me thinking, I wanted to push up kind of like Trainer 101 in the narrative. For those of you who are new to this game, in the narrative, the idea is when you become a mech warrior, you're trained in a chameleon. This is like a trainer mech. It's a lighter mech. It's easy to navigate. It's easy to pilot. It's got basic weapons. It has a variety of weapons to teach you about range and heat management. It's not really suited for combat, but it works as that trainer. It's kind of like a two-seater. And then once you kind of earn your mech warrior status and you have an idea, then you move into a mech and fight from there. So I wanted to kind of capture that and talk about a trainer. So right away, you're looking at these mechs. You've got the game of armored combat, or you've got some miniatures, and naturally, well, maybe not, but I think naturally we're attracted to the big guns. We're attracted to like the Warhammer, the Marauder, the awesome, these machines that are literally walking battalions. And you'll do well, and you should play them. But I would recommend, as your mech commander, the first 5 or 6 games of Battletech, playing with a Wasp or a Stinger. And maybe even with that Wasp and Stinger going up against a medium mech, say the Shadowhawk, because it's got some diversity of weapons, and maybe the Locust. Using that as a trainer, because understanding how light mechs survive in the game, if you make one mistake, right? You're playing a heavy mech, you make a couple mistakes, you take some hits, you lose a lot of armor bubbles, you're not happy, but you're still in the game. There is no recovery with a light mech. So those skills it teaches you, and it might be a little frustrating, those skills that it teaches you really, really fast, when you port those over to mediums, heavies, and assaults, those skills, when they're utilized in addition to the base skills of mediums, heavies, and assaults, are going to make you legendary. They're going to make you beast mode. They're really going to take your skills to that next level. So it's almost like, and this is hard, right? This is hard. If I was there, we'd do it together. I'd train you up myself. First 5 or 6 games don't count. Think of them as learning the rules. Think of them as understanding tactica. Think of them as a simulation. Then you jump in. So let's look at the skills needed to survive as a light mech and how, if you understand these skills and base in the vlog, be able to replicate them through practice, through trial and error, tactica on the tabletop. Then when you jump into that Warhammer, then when you jump into that Battlemaster, you're going to be really, really fearsome. You don't have any armor. Even the heavier armored light mechs, you could take a PPC hit, a couple of laser hits, then you're into internals and you're in a lot of trouble. So what this means is speed protects you. You need to go into the mindset, I can never be hit. I can't get hit. So how do I prevent myself from getting hit? Because here's the duality. I can't just run around on the edge of the map. I need to engage targets, or I need to engage mission parameters, make it to the center of the table, pick this up. There's going to be a bunch of other mechs waiting for me. You need to get into the game. So how we stay alive if we go in as a light mech pilot saying, I can never get hit. Now, you are going to get hit, but we're trying to approach this understanding, stacking up hexes, right? When you move in a straightish line, you stack on hexes, you become harder to hit. When you turn with your movement point or running point, that takes away from the maximum number of hexes traveled. So being able to navigate terrain, being able to navigate targets where you can run the farthest distance to stack the most modifiers possible. Second to this is, if you're not openly primarily attacking, then using terrain, using movement, using all the variables in that moment to stay as far away as possible from the other mechs, from their primary weapons. So let's look at this idea of let's look at this idea of a Warhammer. At least if I can stay far enough away where I'm at long range for the PPCs, I may take 2 PPC shots, and those will be critical if they hit me, but I'm not eating a PPC and medium lasers and short-range missile 6-packs, staying at that distance. So we're going to try and stay at distance. We're going to try and stack up. That's your armor. That's your shield. That's what keeps you alive. If you can master that in light mechs, and the reason why you want to use light mechs to learn this skill as opposed to jumping into a medium, a heavy, or an assault, is if you make a mistake, it's like, oh, I made a mistake. I took 2 PPC shots and a short-range missile 6-pack hit cluster. Okay, I'm cool. I'm still in the game. No, medium mech, you're dead. Excuse me, light mech, you're dead. It's over. You're crippled. You're moving along. You get crushed. You learn very, very fast. The rules of the road. The second thing it teaches you as a light mech, what keeps you alive is staying out of primary firing arcs. Understanding that if it's a battle master and I'm facing forward, I'm going to try and stay in range, and it's not always possible to do all these things, but that's up to you to figure out the tactic of how to do it if it is possible, at least to be able to see it on the table, to know that if I'm a battle master facing forward and I've completed my movement, then that light mech, that wasp, that stinger moves in such a way that when I torso twist to fire, at least all of my primary weapons are not in range. Or maybe that PPC isn't in range. That's this idea of understanding when a mech finishes its movement, the static firing arc, and then in the shooting phase, declaring targets, torso twists, understanding the primary firing arc. That's massive to stay out of the firing arc of a mech as a light mech. The last piece, so just those 2 things, if you can master those 2 things, those are skills that, again, once we stack on weapons and armor and survivability, it's just fantastic. It's just amazing. Then we're going to understand the approach. With a light mech, you've only got really one primary weapon. For the most part, it's a medium laser. You might have a short-range missile pack. You might have an LRM-10, like with the Valkyrie. I love the Valkyrie. Can't wait to get that the new reimaged plastic Valk. I'm almost pumped more than any mech. Just fantastic mech, but I got to stay on target here. You generally have one primary weapon. Then you have some backup weapons. Think of the Locust stock. The medium lasers are primary. Machine guns are secondary. So what that means is you only have one shot. One shot. You have no redundancy. Redundancy in Battletech is at least 2 or 3 of the same weapons or weapon brackets the same. So when you shoot, it's this game of modifiers. What's your pilot skill? What's your weapon skill? Ballistic skill? Shooting skill? Too many rules in my head. You're going to start off with a base of that. Maybe you're starting off, base inner sphere at 4. Then you're going to add, did you walk, run, or stay static? 0 plus 1 plus 2. So that number is going to go up. Then we're going to add range of the weapon. That number is going to go up. Then we're going to add on modifiers of the opponent moving. That number is going to go up. Then we're going to add on any type of cover or obscure target, maybe a +1. So the point is a light mech, you only have one shot. These numbers that go up, you got to try and bring them down when it's your turn. So if I have to engage you, this idea of, say, a Shadowhawk, I have to engage that Shadowhawk. Okay, that's Fritz, the mech commander, sitting comfortably in his air-conditioned mobile HQ, far removed from the battlefield, gave that order. Okay, we're gonna do this, right? I might join the rank of the dispossessed, but we're gonna do this. Going in to engage that Shadowhawk, and you've got your Stinger or Wasp. On the way in, you're trying to stay away and you're trying to stay out of that primary arc. But when you have to engage, because you only have that medium laser or medium laser machine guns, medium laser short range missile pack, no fancy ammo this time. I know some of you guys got that build and it is beast, but we're looking, you're a new mech warrior. We're not giving you that tech yet. You got to earn it. What that means is you have to have the pilot skill to know to cut down the opponent's modifiers. You need to be able to get into a position where you can get as close as you can. Maybe utilizing cover, partial obscurity on your legs. Maybe being in a forest clearing and they're out in the open. Utilizing, maybe moving into some water, right? Utilizing everything you can so you can shoot. And with that one shot or the primary and the secondary shots, you're going to hit. you have the best chance of hitting, because you just can't say, forget about heat and spam out everything. I just can't say as the Warhammer, okay, I need, 8s, 9s, 10s or higher to hit you, or 10s or higher to hit you. All right, I don't care about heat, PPC, lasers, missiles, right? Just clear the deck, everything. Something's going to get through, right? You mash enough buttons, something's going to get through. But the light mech, you don't have that. You got one shot. That said, as soon as you're in range, you always start shooting. Might need a 12, you always start shooting. But ideally, how do we close that gap and get closer and closer and closer? You master those skills as the light, because there is only success or failure. It is very binary with how it works. You master those skills as a light mech warrior, then as soon as you start throwing down and playing the heavies, you're going to do amazing. And it's going to cut down your Battletech learning curve, because you'll learn these things if you jumped right into playing heavy mechs. You will learn these things. They're just Battletech 101 tactics. But the armor and the sheer bulk of those heavier machines will correct for your deficiencies. They will correct for your mistakes. The light mechs, nowhere to hide.